In just over 12 hours from now, 7 p.m. tonight, the President is going to be addressing the country. COVID-19, last year's unrest hammering most businesses. There's a lot that the country has been dealing with. Also, what the President has to try and manage. The retail clothing industry wasn't spared either. Let's go down to, once again, Tumela Motatwane getting us all ready for that speech this evening outside Parliament, where we're not going to be taking the speech live. That's down the road at City Hall, but still so important for us to stand outside Parliament, because that's ordinarily where the attention would be focused.
Absolutely, Gareth. I mean, Parliament remains a historical landmark, even with those ongoing investigations around the cause of the fire, the motive behind the fire. Of course, I suppose we'll have to walk the journey here with the justice system to find exactly what happened on that fateful day when Parliament was engulfed in fire. But I'm standing with Michael Lawrence from the National Clothing Retail Federation of South Africa to talk more about what the expectations are from President Cyril Ramaphosa come 7 p.m. this evening. Michael, thank you for your time and good morning to you. And that's precisely that, you adding your voice to the conversation, your expectations. What do you think the President will prioritize this evening?
Well, what we're hoping is going to prioritize as organized business is some simple fundamentals. Do all the arms of government have the right respect for the Constitution? And are there consequences around that? Are there going to be consequences around the SONA report? Around the unrest report from the July unrest? We're looking for greater certainties, and then of course fundamentally we're looking for government to be taking decisions about investment in the economy that actually is going to allow employers to provide jobs to people who are so desperately looking for them.
Absolutely. I had a conversation earlier on in the week with Ndiso Group CEO Alex Mabunda. He was talking about the private sector partnership that's important to government. What are your sentiments there in the President putting more confidence in private sector in assisting with economic recovery?
Well, business and organized business stepped up significantly during COVID times. There are a number of instances, not just at NEDLAC, but even on departmental levels, as business just understood that it had a substantive role to play as a social partner in this country. And now we're looking for government to take that critical next step on the economic recovery plan, on the economic recovery program. We're looking not just for ideas of intimations of investment. We're looking for substantive indications now of where that investment is going to be. What are the infrastructure plans specifically? And again, what are the consequence management? Are we a secure nation? Are we able to understand and have surety about our security's ability to prevent the likes of the July unrest happening again? There were enormous problems for ordinary people in South Africa, resulting across the country from what happened in KZN and Gauteng. And we simply cannot have a repeat of that. And the President mustn't just speak high level. We're looking now for what are the specific indicators, what are the specific steps that are going to be taken,
Absolutely.
And what's our roadmap?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the July unrest because we saw that final report coming from Sandy Africa and the panel involved in obviously conducting that report, saying 300 deaths recorded, 50 billion rand approximately in lost monies, in lost economically rather. The damage that we've seen it's huge. With that being said, how would you like the President to specifically address this? Accountability, responsibility being taken here for what happened, but also how do we prevent, of course, a future possibility of the same incident?
Well, we've seen movement in the restructuring of the security cluster already. The Presidency has taken direct control over substantive elements of the security processes in this country. What we need to see now is what are the consequences, who gets held accountable, and what are the processes that are put in place to give greater certainty for economic activity, for safety of life, for safety of property that we're going to be seeing going forward. Look, the loss of lives we cannot recover. Money is something you can recover, but it speaks to the fact that we now are having to build from a different base. But what are the certainties, what are the substantive certainties that give us the confidence to be good consumers, to be good investors, to encourage foreign direct investment, to just have the kind of lives that we'd all like to live, like to live with for our families and for our communities.
Yeah, and just a last question to you before I let you go then, Michael. You spoke about foreign direct investment. How are we looking on the international market? What is the perception of South Africa, in terms of your international counterparts? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it a concern? Or should it be a concern for the president?
Look, I think the good terms of the World Bank loan speak to the fact that we're regarded as a safe investment destination, a safe country to still where borrowing can take place. We certainly have seen in the sectors I've been working in, we've certainly seen continued interest in foreign direct investment. Our leadership role as a country in the AFCFTA suggests that Africa is a place to invest in. South Africa is one of the major economies on the continent and one of the reliable economies in terms of investment profiling. So we remain confident that foreign investors are still having a very close look at opportunities that exist in this country.
All right, well, I appreciate you taking our time to speak to me this morning, Michael Lawrence from the National Clothing Retail Federation of South Africa. Of course, there you heard it, Gareth, a lot of anticipation and expectations from the president. Come 7 p.m. tonight at the State of the Nation address, different interest groups, not just from the Clothing and Retail Federation side, but also expected to hear from the tourism industry as well a bit later on with Chipewa Chibengwa. What the expectations are essentially for the president.
Yeah, that's right. A big talk about the dropping essentially of the state of disaster. Tumelo, back to you again a little bit later as it gets busier and busier.